Chai,
Chai,
chai me,
chai me,
chai me, bitch,
chai me, bitch,
chai me, bitch.
chai me, bitch.
Yapping all the way, yeah, I've got the whole day. Chai,
Chai,
chai me, bitch,
chai me, bitch.
chai me, bitch. Hi, I'm Preetipls and welcome to episode 2 of Chai Me Bitch. Sorry, let me do this right. Chai Me Bitch. Hi, so for this episode, we are actually, when you clicked on the title, you can tell that this is going to be a very triggering episode. So before we get straight into it, let me just explain why I'm the only person on this couch. Because it is a very heavy topic, I've decided that since I have a lot to say about this, I will be talking about this on my own, and I'll be just sharing all my thoughts about sexual harassment in general, and also trigger warning. It is going to be a very heavy episode, so that is the trigger warning lah. Okay, so if you are continuing to listen to this, then that's on you, So just want to shout out everybody who is here on set right now making the episode 2 happen. So shout out to Jayden, who's behind the cameras and making sure that nothing stops rolling right now. So shout out Jayden. And also Wisan is on set even though he's not in front of the camera. Wisan, how about you come in to tell everybody that you're on set and just help me pour the glass of chai that I will be sipping on. So if you're watching the video right now, you will see Wisan strut in. And he's pouring me a cup of chai right now, so thank you.
Really writing a word narrative.
No, can you say something? Can you say hi?
Hi.
Okay, now enough. That's your 2 seconds of fame. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have a sip of chai before we begin episode 2. Let me drink this as closely to the mic as possible. Today's chai is sponsored by my mother. Okay, sorry. Yes, okay, and also, of course, shout out Audio Technica with all the audio equipment that you see and you are hearing my beautiful voice from today. So thank you and you're welcome, everybody. So now that that is all out of the way, today's episode is going to be really serious because I want to talk about a lot of prominent sexual harassment cases in Singapore, and I'll also be sharing my own personal experience with sexual harassment, and hopefully this will be useful for anyone out there who needs to hear what I'm about to share. So, of course, when I started this podcast, I knew that this was a topic that I definitely wanted to talk about someday. I never knew when, but I knew that this was for sure on the list of Chai Me Bitch episodes, and I knew that this day had to come, but I never thought it'd be this soon. Of course, the trigger to talk about this today is obviously what we're all talking about right now in the news and everywhere online. It's the current ongoing allegations against Deekosh, and that's happening right now. So that's what triggered me to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about this now. There's so much to say, and I'm going to sit down and we're going to do episode 2 and we're going to make this happen. So as I'm filming this, it is the 23rd of August. So I'm just going to put that out there because if some things are no longer factual when this airs, you will know that this is everything that I'm about to say now is all based off the facts that I know from today, the 23rd of August. So you're probably going to be listening to this on the 28th. So hey, Pretty from the past saying hi to you. Okay, anyways, legit. Okay, I'm just going to go on to this now. So, what does sexual harassment constitute? A lot of things, okay? So, according to Aware, the definition of sexual harassment involves threatening, abusive or insulting words, behaviors or communications of a sexual nature. So, such behaviors may be actionable if A, it is meant to cause you harassment, alarm or distress, or B, is likely to cause you these feelings you heard or saw the offending behaviors or words. Am I making sense? It's likely to cause you these feelings and it's basically going to trigger you with the offending behaviors and words . So I just want to say that sexual harassment obviously does not have to be physical. There is no one definition for sexual harassment. It can constitute catcalling, making suggestive remarks at the workplace, and the most obvious one is obviously physical sexual harassment. So this includes molestation and rape. Also for this episode, if you're watching the video, you will see that I am actually reading off the iPad quite a bit because I wrote down quite a lot of thoughts that I had on this topic, and I wanted to make sure that everything is phrased right because this is obviously a very sensitive topic, and I just wrote down everything I thought of and everything that I phrased properly a couple of days ago. So I just want to make sure that I am saying everything that I really wanted to say and I intended to say. I'm not going like off tangent here. So that's why I am looking at this iPad quite a bit, yeah. So forgive me. Okay, so legally, what does this mean? So in Singapore, I think there are a lot of like legalities that we need to like put out there and just get this out of the way so we know what a lot of things are defined as in Singapore. So the legal age to have sex in Singapore is 16 years old. 16 years old. Oh, sorry. So this means that it is a punishable offense to have sex with persons below 16 years old. Okay, so that's just some facts out there for y'all. But of course, other than having sex with a minor, there are many other sexual acts that are punishable by law. And this includes quite a lot of things. I think most of these things we know for sure, but a lot of these things I don't think we discuss or see a lot in mainstream media or mainstream news. So of course, other sexual acts punishable by law include rape, marital rape, sexual assault involving penetration, having sex in an exploitative relationship, molest, sexual grooming, commercial sex with minors, and sexting. So this is not the full list of sexual harassment offences that can take place, but it is the bulk of them. So these are the ones that we hear the most about and talk the most about. So in the last 2 years, I think in mainstream media, in the news, we have finally been talking about sexual harassment a lot. Of course, no thank you to all the very prominent NUS cases. So just to like give you all a couple of like some more context and backstory, I think because of the NUS cases that we've seen in mainstream media, especially namely, I think 2 cases. Number one being like the case of Terence Xiao, and another one being the most recent one where an ex-boyfriend broke into the girl's ex-girlfriend's house to completely attack her, physically attack her. And most recent one, the guy broke into his girlfriend's house. He stabbed her eyes with his fingers, and the punishment that he received, right? He was given a 12-day detention order and day reporting order for 5 months with counseling and an order to complete 80 hours of community service over a year. Okay, so that was the outcome. And for the other case, the one that happened in the MRT, where Terence Xiao basically completely tried to molest this girl sitting right beside him, put his hand on her thigh like twice, and then followed her off the train to like grab her butt, super disgusting. So for the case with Terence Xiao, he had to serve 2 weeks of jail for molesting a 28-year-old woman on the train in September 2018. So it's really gross because when you read the article about Terence especially, they say things like he persisted to following her onto the escalator so he could molest her again. And this was not the first time that he touched females in crowded buses or trains, but this was the first time he got caught. Okay, so that is all in the news. So I think like, of course, looking at all these cases, the general public, I would say, we're all really triggered at the fact that this even happened to begin with. But the next thing that triggers us even more is the outcome of these cases. So I think a lot of people feel like justice has not been properly served because they don't think that the punishments are fair. But it's also a very weird grey area because who gets to deem what's fair here? And who gets to like decide this punishment other than the judge? So it's really, the general on-ground sentiment is that cannot be it. Like 2 weeks of jail cannot be enough. Getting a couple 80 hours of community service is not okay. Receiving counseling, that's like a privilege, So I think a lot of people are really very pissed off, and understandably so, because personally, I'm pissed off, that's not okay. So of course, like with the platform I have, I remember back in early 2019, when the Terence Xiao case broke out, I made a parody of the song Truth Hurts by Lizzo. And in the song, I made sure to say like, back down Benny didn't do a damn thing when touchy Terry couldn't resist his urges. So you know how LTA has like a million campaigns talking about stand up Stacey, move in Martin, and like back down Benny and all these things. And I'm just like, yeah, you would put all that on every single train in Singapore, every single MRT station in Singapore, but why not like make a character telling you how to not touch someone else? Like that's not what we're gonna make like characters and actually talk about, in a way that's consumable or like for the average person that's taking the train, And I think there was also another thing that came out where there were ads in MRT stations that said like, that talked about molestation, and it was directed at the females or at the victims, saying something like, don't, like, I think it wasn't like a don't molest someone. It was more of like a, if you get molested, here's what you can do, which is very like, huh? But why are we talking about what happens after you get molested when we should be talking about don't even molest, you know? So I think that was something that the general public, especially on social media, a lot of people were just like, huh? We're not talking about this like enough. And we have all these silly characters talking about stupid things like putting your back down in the train, but how about keeping your hands to yourself? So I made a song and I'm going to include a snippet right here. So it's a parody of Lizzo's Truth Hurts, and it was essentially the truth really hurts lah when you talk about these things. It's not easy and a lot of people don't want to hear these things, but we have to talk about it.
Why men's grades come up when they misbehave? Don't touch me, I say it straight to your face. At least now they didn't put her name, that's the case. I should feel safe in every single damn place. Back down, Benny didn't say a damn thing. When touchy Terry couldn't resist urges. Truth hurts, it's a double standard, but hey, potential to excel in life.
So it's really disgusting because sexual harassment really happens to anyone and everyone. And I think a lot of females that all of us know in our lives, I think a lot of females have sexual harassment stories, and it can extend from like something that happened like maybe online, something that happened at school or at the workplace, or just actual physical sexual harassment at places like bars, clubs. And I think it's so gross that so many of us have our own personal encounters with sexual harassment. And like I said, you know, just now when I mentioned all the different things, like even things like sexual grooming, sexting, unsolicited like nudes that you receive in your DMs, all those things are not okay. And all these things fall under sexual harassment. So it's really disgusting that I think all of us have someone we know in our lives, a loved one at least, who has been there, you know, gone through something like that. And predators are really just out there doing the absolute worst for selfish gains. So I think like I just want to talk about like my own personal encounters with sexual harassment, which is very, I guess it's not something that I talked about very publicly, but I mean, I remember like the way I reacted for one of these incidents. I remember like tweeting about it the next day. So I think that was the only time I publicly like addressed it or talked about it. But if not, I just like share with my own personal group of friends, share with my loved ones, and then I move on, because I guess the two incidents that I went through were really like specific, and they're not something that I can go like make a police report about, you know. So it's not as major lah, I would say. So these are my encounters, and one of the encounters happened when I was an 18-year-old. So this was like my first few times in a club, and I was in the club Canvas. So I was there with two of my male friends, and it was a super like, I don't even know like why we were there. I don't remember anything, but basically, you know, this dude just walked past, and it wasn't a super crowded night. So it was empty enough for you to like, if someone walked past and accidentally touched you or what, you could turn around and see exactly who that person is, and you'd be like, oh shit, okay, whatever, I guess it's squeezy or sure. But it was empty enough for someone to not have to like graze me or even touch me to walk past me. But this guy walked past, grabbed my ass, and then I turned around in shock. I turned around like, what? And I turned to look at the guy, and he and his friend were laughing. They were just like really like satisfied that they managed to do that. And I remember feeling so like, are you kidding? Like, I was so angry. And I think the response that I saw, like the fact that they were laughing about it, just made me so mad. It just made me like, are you fucking kidding me? And the first thing I did was to turn to both my friends. So I was there with two guys. I turned to both of them and I said like, that guy just grabbed my ass. Like, that guy just did that guy. And I could like point him out. He was right beside, he was just walking past. And I remember feeling like shit, because my friends literally reacted like oh shit, oh okay, like that was the reaction that I got. And in my head I'm like, isn't it what they always say, you know, like if you surround yourself with friends, especially if you're female, when you go to a place like really crowded place like bars or clubs, when you're with your male friends, you know, who are obviously of a bigger stature, who can look out for you, you know, you feel safer. But in that moment I was like, I am with my male friends and I don't feel safe at all. Like, they do not have my back. So I remember feeling so mad that my friends kind of did nothing. Like, you know, you tell them what happened and they did nothing. And the guy's right there. You could do something. You could like go up to him and be like, dude, that's not okay. And tell him off. Make sure he gets out of the place, you know. That's what I kind of expected from my friends. But mind you, we were all like 18. So I understand that maybe they also didn't know how to react in a moment like that. So today I can give them the benefit of doubt. But in that moment I was like, shit, why my friends do nothing? So I remember walking up to the guy. I was so mad. I walked up to the guy and I punched him. So in hindsight, that was not a very smart thing to do, because to go there and to physically like confront someone is not safe. And of course, like when you are obviously the weaker one in this situation, like a lot could have happened. I could have gotten hit back, anything could have went down. But luckily for me, it was a very public space. So because I did that, I think in the moment, those two guys, they knew better. They knew like, okay, shit, we gotta get out of here. We fucked up. We could get in trouble any moment now because we just like molested this chick. So the guys got really like scared and intimidated, because I was just like, I'm gonna fuck you up. And I was just like screaming like I don't know what I was saying, but I think I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you just really fucking grabbed me and I hit the guy. And then the guy was like really scared. So he ran out of the club with his friends. And at this point, I guess I was just so mad that like, really, you're just gonna walk away and you're gonna get away with doing shit like this. You're gonna go, club hop, go to the next club and do the same thing. So I remember feeling so mad. I went out of the club as well, and I was just like asking him to go lah, like, yeah, get out, like leave, like don't come back. And at this point, my friends followed me out and they kind of helped me back. So I remember feeling very like frustrated in the moment, like, why are y'all holding me back? Like, why are y'all not doing this on my behalf? Like, why are you guys not the ones that are having this conversation with this guy? Why are you not like, maybe one of you could have stayed with me, someone else could have gone to him and told him off. So I remember feeling like all those like different stages of like anger, frustration, and just like wow, really, you have to stand up for yourself, in situations like this. And I guess that was also me just being very like, in hindsight now, I can look back and be like, okay lah, it's in a moment like that, it's very triggering and you don't know what to do or what to say. And because, let's be real, in a situation like that, if a guy was going to punch another guy, the club would have easily been like, okay, both of y'all are in trouble, both of y'all are banned, both of y'all cannot come back in here. But because it was me standing up for myself, obviously self-defense, like, I'm a female, I just got molested and I just stood up for myself. I'm not in the wrong here, So I guess there are certain things that I can do because I'm a female in the situation and I'm the victim here. But of course, if my friends had stepped in and reacted a certain way, it could have gone wrong really quick. So now looking back, like I can understand that, and I can come to terms with I guess, I'm okay. I'm okay with how I handled it. Today, if something like this happened, I probably would have handled it better. I wouldn't have taken matters like into my own hands physically and like hit someone. But, do I regret? Not really. So he got what was coming for him lah. So that was like, I guess my first incident that I remember when it comes to sexual harassment, because I honestly compartmentalized really well. So I think if I got catcalled or if some other thing happened, I probably don't really like remember, because I try to forget anything that's triggering in my life. So this was the first incident that I really remember, and I can say like, okay, I got molested in a club once. But the disgusting thing is, like I said, this has probably happened to I don't know how many of my female friends. I don't know how many of y'all listening can relate, which is really sad because I don't want anyone to be able to relate when it comes to sexual harassment. But this was when I was 18. And I guess fast forward like a couple of years later, just I would say maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I was already like 23, 24 years old. Another incident happened when I was in the club. And at this point in time, I was already making videos. I was already pretty pleased. And this was such a weird situation to be in, because there are too many like specifics here. And it's because I'm pretty pleased technically this happened. And it just feels very weird, because I remember I was at a club, I was at Bang Bang, and basically I went to get drinks. I was walking back to my group of friends, and this guy came up to me and said, "Oh my God, you're pretty pleased, right?" And in the moment, if anyone says that in a club, my immediate reaction is like "Oh, hi, yeah, sure." Like, and then if they want to take a picture, sure. I always am like down. So he said that to me, and I was like, yeah, we were having a conversation, and suddenly I was holding drinks in my hands. My hands were full. This guy just decided that it was okay to just grab me and try to kiss me. So in the moment, I was like, same thing. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I'm here with 2 drinks in my hands. My friends are just there. They're not looking at me. They have no idea what's happening. And this guy just thought it was okay to just grab me like that lah. And I felt so fucking violated. And I pushed him away. And I was like, I forgot what I said, but I think I was like, what the fuck? Like, no, like, what are you doing? And then he said, oh, so you think because you're pretty pleased, you're up there lah. That's what he said to me. And I remember feeling so pissed off. Like, I don't know how I dealt with it in the moment. I probably went back to my friends, told them what happened, and our night probably ended much earlier than it would have, because nobody wanted to be there anymore. But I remember the next day tweeting about it. very casually just tweeting like, so last night I was in a club and this happened. He's not someone that I know personally. He's just someone who recognized me from my videos and thought it was okay because he knew me to that extent and he thought it was okay to do that. And it was just very disgusting because there is no basic human like respect here. You don't respect my personal space at all. I don't know what made you think it was okay to violate my space like that. And it was just so frustrating because I just didn't know what to do in the moment. And I guess another layer of this is the fact that I'm pretty pleased. If I'm going to punch someone in the face, if I'm going to like make a hoo-ha about something in a very crowded place like that, I don't know what kind of reaction I would get. Would I be getting filmed? Would this be on the internet tomorrow? So I guess there were a lot of things that went through my head, and sometimes it just is so frustrating because it's not fair. At the end of the day, I'm just a chick who was in a club who got molested, and another incident, like violated like that. So there's so many layers to like put into this situation, and I guess the next thing that pissed me off even more in the second incident is that this same guy, who I obviously recognize because when you do shit like that, I'm gonna remember your face and I never want to see it again, right? I have bumped into this guy at least 10 times since the incident. I've been to other clubs, I've seen him, and every time he sees me, he smiles from across the room like, hey, remember me? That kind of face, that kind of vibe. And I get so mad because I'm like, leave me alone. Do you realize that your existence is a trigger? Like, I don't want to see you, I don't want to interact with you. And the best part is, every time I'm on a dating app and if I have a premium account, if I see who swipes me, the guy swipes me on every freaking app. And you know how mad that makes me? Because there's like, do you realize that what you did was not okay? And you're here just like thinking you might still have a chance, or thinking that like that was funny and like, maybe I could actually still date her, or maybe she's into it, and that just makes me so pissed off. Like, that's not okay. Leave me alone. I don't want to see you. Don't smile at me in a club. And that is exactly how I would feel. I would assume that every other sexual harassment victim feels. If they're going to see their perpetrator, if they're going to see somebody that has like done anything to like violate their personal space or to molest them or do anything that's even worse than those things, can you imagine how frustrating it is to constantly have to face this person? So of course, when we talk about things like sexual harassment at the workplace, at school and stuff like that, when you have to face the person every other day, or when you're in a position of that, when there's a power imbalance, when there is I can't say something because this person has a certain level of authority, or I can't say something because I will get in trouble instead, it makes you feel like shit. So I think a huge part of sexual harassment is obviously victim blaming, gaslighting. A lot of these things we have to talk about when we talk about sexual harassment. And I think right now, in the current situation that's happening here in Singapore right now, I think that's something that we see happening online so much. We see people commenting things and saying, oh, why did the victims only speak up now? Or like, what took you so long? Or like, you can't say that because people cope in many different ways. And people have their own process of coping, and it's a very, very, very tricky thing to do when you go through something very traumatic. So I think like later on we'll talk a bit more about like how victims deal with it and how it's not okay to say certain things or to make people feel a certain way, especially after the trauma that they have went through. Okay, so because everything that we just discussed was very triggering, I'm just going to give myself a quick yes, bitch! That's me patting myself on the back for sharing triggering stories that nobody wants to talk about. But anyways, real talk, if you guys have ever been in a situation like that, I think there are some very important things that you need to know in the moment. So of course, your first emotions or like feelings will be like shock and very, 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 you'll feel anger. You'll feel anger like more than anything else in the moment. But I think if you're in a situation where you're in the club and something's gonna happen that someone makes you feel very uncomfortable, someone's violating your personal space, of course you tell the group of friends that you're with so they can do whatever they possibly can to the best of their abilities to get you out of there or to make you feel as safe as possible. And of course, if this gets out of hand, you go to someone who is obviously there to make sure things like this don't happen, like the bouncer or anyone else who works at the club who can actually do something or help kick that person out, someone who's obviously there for like the wrong intentions. So if you're not in a situation where it's in a club or bar, I think if you're at the workplace and you face something like that, of course, I think if it's not an emergency where you need to call the police, I think, of course, the next thing that you can do is to go to HR, go to your boss. If the person that is making you feel very uncomfortable, is making the suggestive remarks at you, I think if that person is the person of authority, go to someone else. Go to someone even higher than that. And if people are not going to hear you out or just going to like assume that you're making things up, I think the job is not worth keeping if you're going to be in a place that makes you feel that unsafe and that uncomfortable. So you need to do what you need to do to make it a safe space and make it a place that you can actually just go to and feel at peace and just do your job. You know, you should not be made to feel a certain way at a place where you should be safe. You know, at a place like work, that should be a safe space. So of course, when we talk about workplace, we need to talk about another huge place that I think a lot of us listening to this are probably still a part of, aka school. So if you are schooling and this is something that happens to you in school, an educational institution, same thing. Go to your teachers, go to your school like counselors, go to like someone who obviously has the power to make this stop. And if you are not being heard, and if this is an emergency, I think, of course, you need to call the police. You know, if this is an emergency, this needs to be a police report. So just make sure that you confide in the people that are closest to you, and don't let this like eat away at you, and you shouldn't have to deal with this alone. So I think, like, personally, I would say that's something that could help you a lot, you know, when you just share this. As triggering it is to discuss something like this, you know, I think telling your loved ones and telling the people who just want the best for you and just want to make sure that you are the best version of yourself and would not let anything like this slide, you know, tell the people that have your best interest at heart, because it's going to be a huge weight off your shoulders. It's going to be something that helps you sleep at night a little better, and it's going to be something that could finally get addressed because if the right people know about this. So that is my personal advice if you have ever been through something like this or are going through something like this. And I think another thing I want to talk about is how a lot of people say things like, there's no such thing as you are asking for it. So if anyone has ever told you that, they can just fuck off. And all that we can say to them is, yeah. Okay, they're talking shit. If someone's going to come out there and say, oh, maybe you shouldn't dress that way, maybe you shouldn't speak that way, maybe you shouldn't sit that way. If someone's going to say shit like that, you are not asking for it unless you explicitly ask for it. Asking for it means saying, hey, grow me. But nobody in the right mind says that. So you are not asking for it. Like I said, sexual harassment is something that is very disgusting and selfish. And the perpetrators are basically just acting out of very, very selfish reasons. And they don't care the consequences of their actions, obviously. And they're just really desperate people who are going to do whatever they need to do to get their urges out, you know, to feed their urges, which is really gross. And nobody should be subjected to that shit. Okay, so there are a lot of things you can do on your own without affecting anyone else's lives like this. I guess another like piece of advice I have is a lot of these incidents and like hypothetical situations that we discussed were at a lot of public places, a lot of very public places where there is someone you can actually turn to for help. But we need to talk about the I guess the form of sexual harassment that happens the most often, which is when you are walking alone at home, which is when you are walking at a very secluded area and someone's catcalling you, you ignore them and it becomes more than a catcall, you know, they try and do something. So in situations like that, approach the next human being you see. That is what I will say, because when I was younger, I remember walking back from school and the whole area that I was at was super empty. There was no one other than this one guy across the road. And eventually when I was walking home listening to music, I realized that this guy was just trying to match my pace. Like he was trying to walk as fast as me and match me, and I felt like, is this guy following me? And then, you know, you will always tell yourself like, okay, am I overthinking this? Maybe he is not following me, it's just me being paranoid. So you tell yourself that and you move on, but eventually from matching your pace across the road, this person starts crossing the road and trying to walk right by you as closely as possible. And that's scary as shit at night. So that happened to me once. And I remember hoping that anybody would appear, hoping that somebody would be going for a night jog or something and they will run past me and I could just grab them and be like, hey, could you walk me home? I live really nearby, but I'm scared. I'm so scared something's going to happen because this guy is just following me. So I remember just hoping and praying somebody would walk by, but no one did. So I did the next best thing, which is to run, which is something I never ever do. So that was really just me going all out lah, okay? So my 2.4s came in handy. I ran to my condo security guard because this was a couple of years ago. I stayed at a condo and I was just like, I don't know if the security guard's going to be sleeping, if he's actually going to be doing his job, but I'm going to try. So I ran for my life to the condo security like guard post thingy, and I told him like, there's this guy that's following me. I don't know what to do. And then I turned around and he just made it there as well. So I was like, shit, he's really following me. And then very grateful because my security guard actually did his job, which was to tell him like, hey, you are not a resident here. You cannot enter. Please leave. Like, don't follow people. Like, told him off lah, and the guy left. So I remember thinking like, wow, if I didn't try and like run back in time, or if I just didn't run fast enough, I don't know what would have happened. And that is something that I think about occasionally. And I remember in the moment I was texting like my friends like, hey, I think this guy's following me. I don't know what to do. But of course, when your friends are like nowhere near you, they can only do so much lah. So I'm glad that's what I did. So if you're ever in a situation where you're extremely uncomfortable and there is no one you know in sight, approach the first sane-looking stranger. Like really, sometimes people are going to have your back. And I think the average human being with a soul is going to be like, help you chase that person off or just accompany you home, make sure you're safe. So just do that instead. And yeah, I hope that works, and I hope that you never find yourself in a situation like that, because that is not okay. But of course, that is something that you can do. So when we talk about sexual harassment, I guess every time we talk about an incident, it's always from the victim's point of view. But I guess right now I do want to share something that a situation that I found myself in when I was an 18-year-old. It was really messy and confusing to be in the position that I was in, because what happens when someone that you regard as a best friend is the person that commits sexual harassment? You know, what happens when that is the scenario that you find yourself in? So I think like it makes sense to be like, even if it's your friend, is wrong what? And exactly, I know that. But it's just so triggering to be a child, to be an 18, 19-year-old, and to be in a position like that, because you are not taught like how to deal with these things. These are not conversations that you have. Back then when I was an 18-year-old, nobody talked about sexual harassment. You know, I just knew that that was wrong, sure, but we never talked about how to deal with this, how to have conversations like this, what to do in the moment. I guess we never discussed these things. So when I was 18, I was in a group of friends, and back then, the person that I'm talking about, I'm just gonna call this person A, okay? So I was in a group of friends. Person A was in the group of friends. We were all friends for a couple of years, and at this point in time, we were in school, and we always heard rumors. We always heard rumors about person A. People were spreading rumors, saying things like, okay, this person has done this, has done that. And we are just like, no, like, that's my friend, Like, my friend would never. So you hear these things in school, but then again, when you're an 18-year-old in school, all you hear are rumors. People are always gossiping, saying the most ridiculous things. So when you hear things like that, you're just like, cannot be. And you just brush these things off. So, of course, that's what my group of friends and I did. That's what we did. That's what we thought was like, makes no sense. This person could not have done anything like that. So, eventually, another layer of this situation is the fact that when we heard things like that, or like the rumors or the incidents that happened, we always thought that we knew our friend to be straight. But a lot of these rumors and incidents involved like other guys. So we were like, that cannot be my friend because he's a straight guy. This is not happening. So it kind of like added to the, okay, there's no way this is true, like sentiment lah. So eventually these stopped being rumors when person A actually sexually harassed someone else in my group of friends. So we knew this for a fact because this happened like at a sleepover at my friend's house, and I remember being the person that the victim ran up to say like, oh my god, this just happened, person A just did this. So hearing that at like 4 a.m. in the morning during a sleepover, you're just like, what? Like, can't wait. So is everything true? Like, are all the rumors that we heard back in school true? And that's when you start like, all these thoughts just come to your head, and you're just like, oh my god, we need to ask him. We need to have an intervention. So when you are an 18-year-old and when you have an intervention, you don't go into this with an outcome in mind. You don't go into an intervention thinking, okay, here are all the things I want to bring up. Here are all the things I want you to address. And here we need to get to the root cause of this problem, or we need to figure out some actionables. What can you do now to stop these things or to be accountable for your actions? We did not go into this intervention with any like list of outcomes in mind. We just went into this thinking an intervention meant address the issues law. Like, you know, you bring up everything and you tell us if this is true or not, and you apologize to who you need to apologize to, and we move on. And that's what an intervention meant. So that's what we decided to do. And I think we really were not equipped with any form of skills as 18 and 19-year-olds to deal with sexual violence and sexual abuse. So we went into that. Of course, like a lot of things were brought up, and the victims that were in the room got an apology from person A. Person A made an apology, apologized for his actions, and leaving the intervention, I personally felt very, I would say, unsettled with the outcome, because even though there were apologies made, you cannot resolve something like sexual harassment with an apology. You know, you need a lot of time and space to kind of come to terms with what happened. And also, maybe it's best case scenario to just never in your life have to interact with the person that has done this to you, because that could just be better. And that's probably like the best case scenario for a victim. So I think like, I always felt it was not my place to say something, because I was not the victim in this situation. I was just in the group of friends. So if the victims are going to take an apology and say that they're okay with it, even though they're pissed, even though they were really pissed off with what happened to them, if they were going to accept their apology, or if they were going to say, okay, fine, let's not talk about this anymore, let's move on, who am I to bring this up? Who am I to say, are you sure you're okay with person A's apology? Are you sure like you have really come to terms with this? You know, are you sure we should still be hanging out with him? You know, so I just never felt like it was my place to say those things, because it's kind of making it about me. And I always thought like, it should be the victims at the forefront. If they are going to say they're okay with it, it is very like, just not my space to come up and be like, how can you be okay with it? And bringing it up is going to trigger a lot of old emotions that you're trying to suppress, things that you don't want to talk about anymore, or things that you are trying to get over. So I always thought like, not my place to say. I probably should not try and trigger anybody here, because it doesn't sit well with me and only me. So that was how we kind of left that intervention. It did not go how I think any good intervention should go. It ended with like a sorry, then okay, let's move on. Let's not talk about this. So many years go by. Now I'm a 25-year-old and I do what I do, and I'm pretty pleased. So in the last couple of months, I have received like anonymous Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, like all anonymous like spam accounts DMing me saying things like, I'm going to quote this, okay? So I remember receiving a DM saying, why are you friends with a rapist? So I was completely like, huh? Like in my head, I'm like, wait, I know exactly who you're talking about, because there is only one person in this Insta story that you're replying that has some form of sexual harassment, like case that went down in school before. So I'm just like, okay, you're obviously talking about this guy, you're talking about person A, but rapists, you know, I have no idea the extent of any of the incidents that happened, other than the incidents that happened directly to my friends who have shared those incidents in confidence with me, but nothing constitutes as rape. And it was never to the extent of rape. So when I receive a DM like that, that's when I'm shocked. And I'm just like, wait, so did anything else happen? Were all the other rumors that we've heard in school, are they way more than what it seemed to be? So I think that's when it started to get very, it started to make me very uncomfortable, and realize that, oh my God, did we never handle this intervention well enough? Did other things go on to happen after this intervention? So I started asking myself all these questions, and then I decided to ask person A directly. Because when you are getting anonymous messages like that, it's just a matter of time before something blows up. It's just a matter of time before someone decides to put this information out there. And it's just very scary, because here I am not even knowing the facts of the situation. But receiving a message like that is enough for me to decide to, you know what? I'm going to have this conversation with the person in question here. So I sat person A down. I had a whole like intervention of my own, a one-on-one, like I would say 2-hour long conversation, asking I did not want to like put the person on the spot and ask like, okay, what are all the incidents you've done? What have you actually committed? You know, like I just thought it was not right to force someone to like share all these things. So I said, I'm guessing that the incidents that I know, that's not the full extent of everything. And I'm guessing other things have happened that I don't know about. So because I'm your friend and because I've been here for so long and I've tried to rehabilitate, I've tried to be there for you like when I first found out about anything. And I guess because of the friendship, I felt like it was only right for me to stick by my friend and tell my friend, help my friend be accountable for his actions. Okay, so I decided to sit him down and tell him that I don't know what you've done, but if there's anything that you have not addressed or you have left just, okay, it happened and then you moved on, if there is no closure given to any of the victims involved here and the people who are extremely traumatized by your actions, you need to reach out. You need to reach out today. And I know it's 2020. I know many years have passed. It is only right. And this is being accountable. This is you saying you have had way too much time to sit around and think about these things. And you need to text this person and tell them that you don't even expect a reply. You don't even expect them to forgive you. But all you're trying to do here is to tell them that you finally know what you did was wrong and you are extremely sorry and you're not even expecting a reply or expecting anything here or even forgiveness here. But you are doing this because you have grown up. You know that the actions you did as a kid were extremely wrong, and you know that they have had very, very severe repercussions and consequences, especially to the person's mental health. And sexual harassment affects every aspect of your life. Let's be real. It's not just something that affects your mental health and triggers you a bit. It affects your relationships with people. It affects your love life, your relationships with your loved ones, your family members. It affects you just being able to be yourself. So I said, like, so many years have passed. You need to let the person know that you finally know the magnitude of your actions, and you cannot expect anything in return, because expecting a reply and expecting something here is once again doing this for very selfish needs. You are only saying sorry to get this off your chest, and you can't. You need to do what's right here. You need to stand by the victims. You need to, whenever, it could be like 5 years later, they decide to finally want to address this, you need to be ready to address it whenever they are ready. So I remember telling my friend, telling person A everything, telling them, laying it all out there, saying that personally, I think this is what you should do. I think this is right. If you need to have a conversation, if you need to have a sit-down conversation with any of the people involved, I am down to be there. I am down to be there for both parties. I'm down to be the person, the mediator of the situation. Like, whatever that either party needs, I'm more than happy to facilitate. I'm more than happy to be there, because this does not sit right with me, and I'm more than happy to do what's right here. So that was how I approached the conversation directly with person A. I said everything that I could possibly think of, and everything that any friend would say, any good friend would say, I feel. So after laying it all out there, I think because I didn't receive like a satisfying enough response, I didn't see that that person A genuinely wanted to like make it right, or genuinely wanted to address the situation at hand. And person A talked about doing a lot of other things, like trying to be a better person, trying to like maybe volunteer or like donate and do things like that. And it made me feel even more frustrated, because I remember thinking, and these were my exact words to person A. I said, like, doing this is absolving your guilt more than addressing the situation at hand and the situation that you caused and the actions that you've committed. So I remember feeling very frustrated, because volunteer work is not gonna try and make the situation that you caused right. And yes, that is going to try and make you a better person, sure, but you can do that in your own free time. You can do that any time of day. You don't do that now. That is not you addressing the situation that needs to be addressed. So I think because I received like responses like that, I remember feeling a bit like, this is so unsatisfactory. And once again, I am not even the victim in this situation. I don't even know the full extent of the actions that went down. I'm just somebody who feels like that doesn't sit right with me, and I can no longer sit in a group of friends or just interact with person A as if this shit didn't go down. And I will not be seen as complicit in a situation like this, because I have put in so much emotional labor to try and help someone see exactly what they need to do and what's right here. And if they're not going to get it, then I think there's only so much that I can do and say, and it doesn't sit right by me, so I'm out. So I think I made the very like difficult and also like disappointing decision to walk away from the friendship. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to talk about. It's never an easy conversation to have. But at the end of the day, this does not compare to the trauma and the pain that the victims go through. And I think that is something that I keep thinking about. And because, like, you just putting your ego aside and addressing the issue today in 2020, because you can't do that, like, I'm done. I think for me, it's very easy to just walk away. And I know, like, I guess in today's situation, this is also something that Nathan Hatono mentioned when he talked about Deekosh. He said something along the lines of, he's not going to walk away from his friend. He's going to stand by his friend. He's going to help his friend get better and do what's right here. And I guess this just triggers the similarities of the situation that I found myself in, because I tried my best to stand by my friend. I tried my best to do what's right. I tried to help rehabilitate and show you the light and tell you, like, this is what you need to do. And as much as I'm disgusted and I'm so offended that you even did what you did, I tried so hard to put all that aside in the name of friendship. But I think there is a very fine line between, like, like trying to get your friend to do what's right and trying to get your friend to do everything here and be accountable here. And eventually you need to think about the real people who are affected here, the very real people who went through, like, years of pain and trauma, and how their lives are going to be affected by one person's very selfish actions. And also you need to think about yourself in this situation. I've had spent days and hours, and I don't know how much of my time just interventions, and we had another intervention this year, by the way. Like, I've spent way too much emotional labor, time, and effort just trying to help someone see something that they are not going to see, or that they, even if they see, they took way too long. Honestly, you took way too long. Like, you cannot let years go by, it's not fair. So I think, like, for me, I think I drew that line very clearly. And because I deem whatever actions the person A decided to take as unsatisfactory, I suggested, like, okay, I think you should be reaching out. And I told him what I think he should be saying. And I also said, you need to get help. You need to sign up for therapy. Saying sorry today, but like, knowing that there's a chance this could happen again, or in your head knowing for a fact that, like, you can't just explicitly say, I will never in my life do this again. That means you need to get therapy. You need to, like, actually talk about this and why you've done the things that you've done. You need to actually fix this shit. And because you're not taking steps like that, I think it's not fair, unsatisfactory. So that's when I decided to be like, I'm done lah, I'm out. So I've tried so hard to hold my very good friend accountable, but because it doesn't seem like he is ready to hold himself accountable, even though a good, like, 5 to 6 years have gone by, I think there is that fine line. And that's when I've decided to say, no, I'm done, I'm out. I've done everything that a good human being can do in this situation. But now, if anything, I'm on the victim side of this. If y'all want to talk to me, if y'all need some form of, like, closure, if y'all want to know the attempts I've made, the conversations I've had, sure, I'm more than happy to like, be there for those people who clearly need the emotional support instead. So that's the super weird and messy situation that I kind of found myself in. I want to say, like, when I was 18, but not really, because this also played out till, like, this year. So yeah, and I guess because so much time has passed, I've also grown up. I also know that no means no lah. If this is, like, I'm not gonna put my morals and values aside in the name of friendship. And as an 18-year-old, yeah, I could have done that because I didn't think this far. I didn't think about, like, every single human being involved in this situation and how it was going to affect their lives. And that's why you don't do proper interventions when you're 18, because you don't know what's right to say. You don't have the tools to respond to sexual violence and sexual abuse. So I really wish my 18-year-old self knew better, but of course I am a human being. So today, as a 25-year-old, I have to do what's right. I have to do what I know is right and what I can do as a grown-ass adult. So that's what I've chosen to do. And I just want to say, like, if you are in a situation like that, where you're really young, you don't know, like, how to have conversations like this, I think, like, later on at the end of the episode, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a lot of other organizations and avenues that you can turn to for help and to actually have proper conversations about sexual harassment, especially. And yeah, like, professionals that you can turn to who can give you the advice that you desperately need to hear, that your friends, your fellow, like, 18-year-old friends cannot give you. I'll be sharing all of that at the end of the episode. So I guess, like, everything that I shared earlier, the bulk of this whole episode ended up being a lot of personal experiences with sexual harassment. And other than the encounters, obviously how I personally had to deal with just watching sexual harassment play out right before my eyes, and like how it's a very confusing and messy situation. At the end of the day, you know, like when you talk about sexual harassment, you got to think about your morals, you got to think about which side you stand on, and you got to talk and think about doing what's right. And I think the victims really have to be at the forefront of every situation when we talk about sexual harassment. And a lot of times we need to remember that it's not about you, it's about the people who are very severely affected by the actions that just went down. And when we think about that with a lot more sympathy, and when we approach the situation like focusing on those people instead, I think you will have like a sense of clarity, and you will know exactly what's right in this situation. You'll know what to do here. So that's how I would say we should all approach any conversation, or when we're dealing with any like sexual harassment encounters like that are not our own personal encounters. So of course right now, everything that we're seeing in the news, I'm guessing, is very triggering for a lot of people who have gone through any form of sexual harassment. Like I can only imagine how triggering this is, like reading the news, you know, seeing all these things, especially if you've gone through anything that's similar. It's just like, not again lah, you know, you don't want to hear about these things, you don't want to talk about these things, and it's right there. Every single Instagram account is posting about it, every single like news site is posting about it. So yeah, I'm talking about the Deekosh thing. So of course right now, everything that is out there are all allegations as of this moment right now, 23rd of August. Everything out there are allegations, even though of course there are a lot of screenshots, videos going around that seem to be very like obvious and clear that someone's at fault here. But of course, these are all allegations, and we are waiting, I guess, for the police to finish their investigations to be able to like properly comment on this. So right now, I'm going to be as politically correct as possible, because let's be real, I'm going to be the first person that gets in trouble before even like Deekosh gets in trouble, you know, just because I talk about it. So can meh? Exactly, can meh? But you know, I have to like make sure that I'm walking on eggshells around this whole thing and be as factual and legit as possible, because as much as I have a lot of like personal feelings here, that's not what matters. It's the situation at hand that matters. So I guess in a lot of sexual harassment cases, there is a whole ass other issue of the abuse of power. A lot of these allegations against Deekosh, you see him in the screenshots. You don't know if it's him. I mean, these are all allegations, but you see the person that is supposed to be Deekosh in these screenshots, like jokingly like asking for nudes, jokingly like trying to solicit like sexual favors in return for cash, and you know, talking about random shady overnight shoots. So I think when you're of a certain age, when you are texting somebody that you subscribe to on YouTube, it's a huge deal. When you're texting someone you grow up watching, when you're texting someone you look forward to every week posting a video. First of all, I need to ask you, why do you even watch this kind of thing? But anyways, you know, when you are a kid, when you're a minor, when you're of a certain age and you're texting your idol, that is huge. And I can obviously get that. You know, you would freak out if like tomorrow Jay Sean reply my DMs. I'm going to freak out, right? So that's the thing, you know, I think it's very clear here, the power dynamics. The person that you're talking to is just like someone of a certain level that you would never in your life think that you would talk to or text, or who would even care about your existence. So when you're texting someone like that, you're obviously freaking out. And it's only natural for you to be susceptible to like very odd requests from the people that you put on a pedestal. You know, you're going to think it's normal, or you're going to think like, I have to say yes, what? If I don't say yes, then he don't like me, but I love him, you know, I love his videos, I love his content. So like, you're falling into this weird, very obvious trap in the name of loyalty for your idol. So because you're a fan, because you subscribe to this guy, because you love his content, you feel the need to say yes to very odd, strange requests, or very random messages, or very shady things that he's asking you to do, because you think it's being loyal to your idol, when that is not loyalty. That is someone who is abusing their power, and you are just doing what you think is right and what you think you have to do to be able to be accepted or be loved back by someone that you look up to and someone that you idolize. So when we talk about an abuse of power, I think that's the most blatant example. You know, when you talk to someone who is obviously underage, someone who is a fan who's gonna do anything for you, who's probably gonna like take a freaking bullet for you, kinda. So that is really an abuse of power when you are like abusing a relationship like that. And because you know the status you hold in society, and there is a certain privilege that you have being who you are, doing the in the profession that you do, you know, being a very famous YouTuber in Singapore. Sometimes like there can be no questions asked. People are not gonna ask twice because people are just gonna trust you or believe that no, you know better, or no, everything you're saying is probably right because you're so important. Like, how can you like be doing something wrong here or something illegal here? So I think a lot of people will just fall into that trap because you are abusing that power and that privilege that you have to sometimes do things that could possibly be illegal. So this is a PSA to all the young kids watching. You don't have to fall under 18 to take this advice, you know, as long as you identify as young, you know, so you can be 62 listening to this. As long as you identify as young, please don't fall into that trap of doing something that you are not comfortable with or saying okay to something that you know is wrong because you think that this is the only way you're going to get accepted. This is the only way that you're going to get validated by somebody who is so important to you. And just don't fall into that trap because I think a lot of people expect you to because you're of a certain age. And because if you're a minor especially, people are going to assume that, I mean, there's a reason you're called a minor. It's because the law agrees that if you're of a certain age, you're not able to make certain decisions on your own because you're a minor. You're very young. So I think like a lot of people are going to abuse that, and a lot of people are going to like, it's like peer pressure lah. You know, when you're young, people say things like, if you do this, then you're cool. And then after you go fall into the trap and do some weird illegal shit that you're not supposed to do. So it's the same thing here, just that this time it's not a peer. It's not somebody that's your age that's trying to make you do shit you don't want to do. Someone who's much older, someone who is powerful. Never fall into that trap because that is a very toxic relationship, and that is not okay because you are probably on your way to like ruin like your future, your life, and you're going to get very traumatized if you do something that you don't want to do. So think about yourself and your future, and think about like if you know something is not okay, don't compromise your morals. Don't compromise something because it's for this one person, you know, like basically don't do that. Like I think a lot of us, like a lot of people my age, a lot of like my friends also, we tend to do that for a lot of people we know are toxic in our lives. It's a very like, it's a weird like toxic thing to do. Like it's like, you know, you date this guy and then your friend tells you, please don't do this, he's bad news. But then you're just like, you make excuses for the person. That's something that a lot of us do. I do a lot. So in a situation like this, if a very famous YouTuber is coming to ask you to do things, ask you to sneak out of your home, ask you to do things that you know for a fact is going to get you in trouble, you know for a fact you are not okay with, you know for a fact your parents have raised you to tell you don't do this shit, then don't do it. Don't compromise the morals. Don't make excuses for that person. Don't say, but he's famous but I want to watch the cringy TikToks. I want to be inside. You know, so don't fall for those things. Don't make excuses for people who really like are out here to take advantage of you. So that's the PSA for anyone who needs to hear that. Like, don't make excuses for people who are really just bad news. And if you're texting someone and if they are making jokes or saying things that make you feel very uncomfortable, they're joking about sending nudes, joking about like soliciting sexual favors, and that makes you uncomfortable and you just want to awkwardly laugh it off, please know that that is not a joke. They are just testing the waters to see how open you are to something like this. And if you laugh it off, if you ha-ha, they're going to be like, oh, so maybe this is something I can get. And one day when you have your guard down, you know, one day they might just try again. Or when you are in a situation where like maybe you intoxicated or something, you know, maybe you're above 18 and stuff like that happen, you know, they're going to try to take advantage of you because they're going to think that, but sober you was okay with it. Sober you laughed about it. So maybe you are okay. So if someone makes you very uncomfortable by joking about these things, just say, you know, I'm not going to, right? You know, I will never do it, right? So you can still but make sure to put it out there that that's not something that you will do and not something that you're open to. So you have all this also on text and out there in black and white that you have said before. And if you ever get taken advantage of, you have those things that you can bring up. You know, take screenshots of everything, okay? Secret chat or not, use another phone to film. Make sure that you always have evidence. Make sure if you're texting someone that you think is shady as hell, always keep all the evidence you can possibly get out of it. And if it's going to say you just took a screenshot, you know what? Do it. Just get it. Nobody cares. And once the person knows that you are smart enough to be screenshotting these things, they're not going to try and mess with you anymore. So always have your back. You are the one who's going to look out for you the most. So make sure to look out for yourself all the time, okay? So with this whole like Deekosh situation happening now, we've seen him come out to deny all allegations. Like that was the first thing that he said. And then we also saw him backtrack on his word like within 24 hours of that. And then as of right now, the 23rd of August, this is not a case that has been closed. But there are so many allegations out there. But obviously, with all the screenshots, evidence online, I think we can all make our own judgment out there. But the one thing I want to say is to stop accepting Deekosh's apology on behalf of the victims. That's what we need to stop doing on the internet. I understand that right now it is a very insane space on the internet. Out of every 5 posts I scroll, I will see a Deekosh meme. So it is everywhere. It is happening like crazy. Everyone's talking and thinking about it. But the one thing we really need to stop doing is commenting on his post and saying, I forgive you, because you are not a victim of his actions. You cannot forgive him on someone else's behalf. It is not okay to say that, and you are taking a lot away from the victims, because when they read that post and read the comment section, they are going to feel like, everyone's forgiving him. Am I supposed to? Like, am I overreacting if I don't want to forgive him? And you're going to make them feel like they're sensitive, they're overthinking it. And this is gaslighting. This is victim blaming. The people in the comments saying things like, how come y'all wait now to say? How come y'all took so long? How come you want to get? Are y'all being attention seeking? That is the most disgusting thing that you can possibly say to a victim of sexual harassment. And like I said, I share a lot of my experiences as an 18-year-old. No one is equipped with the skills to have these very difficult conversations and to do exactly what's right, because there is no one right thing to do or one right way to approach a situation like this. So I think if anything, like, commend these guys for coming up to share their story, commend them for saying everything and trying to even like rally up the other people that are affected and get the mental help that they need, that they should receive. And I think that they're doing a lot, and it's commendable that they spoke up at such a young age, because this could have gone on for many more years and many more people could have been affected without them deciding to just say, hey, you know what? Today I'm going to just talk about this. So I think like the last thing that anyone should be doing is to victim blame, gaslight. If you have nothing to say, don't say. And if you are just a very loyal, like, Deekosh fan in a situation like this, and you really choose to believe that this could not have possibly happened, then I think you should just not say anything and wait for your Lord and Savior to come out and say something to address these allegations, or to like let the case actually close and let the police actually finish their investigations before you come out to defend him, before you come out to like speak on his behalf, or like speak on, like forgive everyone on the victim's behalf. So I think maybe just not saying anything is fine, because if you really are a huge fan and you just want to let him know you're there to like support him and you are on his side, sure, go ahead and do that, but don't take away from the victims, or don't like forgive him, or don't do all those things, because that's just gross. Like, nobody says sorry to you, then you go and say I forgive you. Like, it's literally like, imagine if someone just punched me in the face. Someone punched me in the face, I'm bleeding, I'm suffering, and then like Wee Sun comes up and goes to the person that punched me and say, I forgive you. What? Like, I will punch Wee Sun in the face next. Like, that is not okay. Like, don't do that. You don't understand the pain. I guess only in this kind of like messed up, like hypothetical situation, then I can break it down for you to realize that after you get punched in the face, the pain, the suffering, the recovery from something like that it's a lot. So in the situation of sexual harassment, that punch in the face is the act of harassment. The pain, the suffering, the trauma is the same thing as getting punched in the face. You have to take a lot of time and effort and space to deal with this and to heal and get better and to be able to talk about this. So maybe I need to break it down and dumbify it so you can get it. You can get how stupid it is to say, I forgive you. So just don't say that kind of shit. And let's just wait for this case to close, and hopefully it'll close soon. Hopefully there'll be some form of like closure out there for everyone involved in this situation. And yeah, and I think like on Instagram, like there's something, some of the victims that spoke up, they were also sharing that, you guys can DM me for like legal help and stuff like that. So just to clarify, what that means is basically, I do have a bunch of friends who work at a legal firm who can actually like, who offered to help, who reached out and said, they are willing to help They will try their best to help pro bono, obviously, because this is something they care about. So if you guys are involved in this like whole situation that we just talked about, and if you need any like legal representation, legal help, like sure, you can drop me a DM and I will try my best to like link you guys up with legal representatives who can actually help you. And if this like whatever you guys need lah, basically, so they will be able to advise better, not me. I don't know legal shit. They know the legal shit. I'm just the middle woman, you know? So so yeah, that is what I can try help with. So yeah, feel free to let me know. Just if it's something that you already DM me and I never see, then spam me again. Say, hey, bitch, I'm talking to you. Okay, don't do that. That's a bit rude. But, you know, just say, hi, Preeti. Like, I need help. You know, just all caps me and I will see it. So yeah, just want to put that out there. I think another thing that I really want to talk about, like that just came up in the last few days, is the smash or pass video that nobody in the world needed. Nobody asked for, nobody wanted to see, but we got it. You know, the whole world got it. 2017, there was a smash or pass video posted, I think, by Jianhao, NOC, Deekosh. I don't know who posted it actually, but all of them were involved in it. They basically sat there listing out a whole bunch of people's names and deciding whether they wanted to have sex with the person or pass on them. So, first of all, nobody asked. Nobody wants to know your sex life. Nobody wants to know who you would sleep with. Nobody wants to know your sexual preferences. I don't think these are things that your child fans even care about or want to know about, and this is too much. This is a lot. So keep this shit behind closed doors. Go talk about it to your friends and have your distasteful conversations like off camera. But to put it out there is gross, because I think one point that a Reddit user like brought up, right, when they put out the whole video, they re-uploaded the video on another site and everything. So a Reddit user like said, this is workplace harassment. And I think that's huge. Like nobody even realized that in 2017, and we didn't talk about that. Ryan and Sylvia own NOC. And in the list of names where they discussed who they would smash or pass, half of them were NOC girls. And they said things like, she's the ugliest NOC girl ever. They said things like, oh, if her hair is this way, then I would give her a 5. But if her hair is that way, I would 10 out of 10 smash her. Or maybe when I'm smashing her, I can adjust her hair. Like, you know how disgusting that shit is? And imagine going to work tomorrow and you just realize that your boss just finished filming a fucking 2-hour shoot discussing whether or not he would have sex with you. How do you go to work the next day and be okay with that? Like, that is so violating. That is so disgusting. Like I said, your workplace needs to be a safe space. Your boss needs to be somebody you can tell these things to, not be the perpetrator, not be the problem. So I think like, I'm so glad a Reddit user like brought this up and actually wrote there in like bold, like, this is workplace harassment. I'm like, shit. I watched that in 2017 and I knew it was harassment of many forms, many sorts, but I never realized that, yeah, that is workplace harassment, because all these girls work for them and they sat there just discussing their bodies and literally discussing how they would have sex with them and what they would change about them to make them a bit more attractive. And also saying like some of them are ugly and some of them would not be good enough to have sex with them. Like, I don't know, it was just a lot. And yeah, I think like that is extremely disgusting. So I will never understand why content like that is made. And it only makes sense to resort to this kind of videos for views and the classic like clickbait bullshit lah. So if you watch videos like that and you actually like it, then all I can say is ugh. Okay, so I think we have finally come to the end of talking about sexual harassment and the whole Deekosh situation, and also like the kind of bullshit content that we see online that is very violating. So this was a lot to talk about and a lot to even like plan and write about. That's why I've made sure to phrase a lot of things as well as possible. So, you know, I hope this was helpful. I hope if you find yourself in any situation like this, you know what to say, you know what to do, and you know who to turn to lah. So, as with every Chimey Bitch episode, I want to do a quick song recommendation. So when we talk about sexual harassment, this is the only song that I want us to listen to, okay? And we need to play this shit on blast.
Stop! Don't touch me there! This is my no-no square!
Stop, don't touch me there. This is my no-no square, okay? So don't anyhow touch people. Don't anyhow catcall. Don't anyhow send nudes that nobody in the world want to see. Don't talk about who you want to smash or pass because nobody cares. Don't ask people to do things that they don't want to do. You know, make sure everything you do is consensual. And yeah, I guess like that is ultimately like how you need to approach any like situation where anything sexual might happen, I guess. Make sure it's consensual, make sure that both parties are comfortable, make sure you're not abusing your power here. Always check. And if you are in a situation where there is a power imbalance and it is still consensual, still check, still make sure that this is something the person is 100% okay with and not something that they've said no to 20 times, but today only they say yes, and then you're just going to faster like do whatever you need to do and take advantage of this like moment. Don't do things like that. Always make sure everyone is comfortable in this situation, and it takes two hands to clap, like, okay? Don't like abuse your privilege and power here. So before I end off this episode, I do want to share some organizations and platforms that you can seek help from if you experience anything that constitutes as sexual harassment. So if you identify as a woman, you can head down to the Aware Sexual Assault Care Center. And if you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community, you can head down to Uga Chaga for support. And if you're a sex worker, you can check out Project X for support. And many of these avenues focus on mental health help. But of course, in any situation where sexual harassment is involved, if it is something that is you need immediate help and it's something that just went down, I think you can obviously call like the police, call the authorities, the people that can help you right there and then in that situation. But of course, if it's something that maybe happened many years ago and it's something that you have never addressed or talked about and discussed, I think you can head to any one of these organizations that I mentioned to actually seek professional help. And also my DMs are open. If you guys like want to talk to me, if you think there's anything that I said here that is something that you can relate to and you want to like talk to me about, I will try my best to reply anyone and everyone who I think I can help or I think I can provide some form of value in that conversation and be there for you I will try my best to be there. So yeah, if anything ever happens out there, especially in public transport also, that is a very like bitch, I'm just trying to go to work. Don't anyhow touch people. Like, I really think there needs to be a sexual harassment button. Like, I joked about this in my manifesto video, but I really think we need to have this kind of shit because an emergency button just makes you stop the vehicle and be like, oh, what happened? But I want there to be a sexual harassment button where you press, right? And then the nearest police station already, the person on the way down, then they can see the bus moving in the GPS and then they know where to catch the person and surround the bus, So I really think we need to have shit like this because I think in public transportation, this happens way too often. So yeah, let's just try and keep Singapore a safe space. Suddenly become SG secure but legit, like, let's try and like be respectful of everyone's personal space. And if you see something happening around you, like you see someone feeling uncomfortable as hell, always go there to ask. Don't feel like maybe not my place, maybe I'm overthinking, maybe it's awkward, or maybe I'm like making this up in my mind. Just there is no harm in going there to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, do you want me to walk with you? Do you want me to stand with you? Like, is this guy disturbing you? Is this person making you uncomfortable? Just ask, because there is no harm that can come out of that situation other than you over caring for someone. And it's better to over care than to not care at all and let some shit happen right before your eyes. Okay, so do what you need to do here, and yeah, reach out to any of the organizations or call the authorities if you need help. And I think other than that, like, I hope this was a very helpful episode, and I hope that nobody has to go through anything that we discussed or talked about. And if you ever did, I'm so sorry you had to go through anything like that, but I really hope that it is something that you can come up from and be way stronger and also help the people around you, and like, just hope it's something that you can recover from, because it's fucked up and it is not okay. And people gotta keep their hands to themselves, okay? So I want to end this by saying, for everyone that has anyhow sexually harassed people, cannot, okay? The answer is cannot. So keep your hands to yourselves, and I will see you guys again on episode 3. You've just made it to the end of an episode of Chai Me Bitch. Wow, you listened to the whole thing, You like me, then say lah. But if you liked it, make sure you're followed and subscribed so you know every time a new episode of Chai Me Bitch or any other Preetipls video is out. Okay, bye-bye.